There's one phrase that is commonly overused, and it's not only a cliche, but it also gets in the way of a much more important task that holds many of us back. Let's have ourselves a pocket sized pep talk, and I'll tell you what that is and how to work your way around it.
A Pocket Sized Pep Talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jollis.
You hear it in sports all the time, particularly after a team has won a big game. We just want it more than they did. The thought of wanting something more than others seems to answer many questions, but to me, seems trite and extremely misleading. If only life were as easy as just wanting things more than others around you. Don't get me wrong, wanting something badly is not a completely useless sentiment. It's just overrated. I happen to have coached soccer and basketball teams for over 25 years, and I could never pin a team victory on just wanting it more. As a matter of fact, I'm quite sure that if I ever wandered into the losing team's locker room, I would not hear that they just didn't want it as badly as we did. When we were very well prepared, which meant we had practiced hard and we had a plan to execute, we're usually successful. But do we pin our hopes on just wanting it more? In a way, that might provide a sense false of hope and a waste of energy. Now, let's leave the world of sports and talk about our world. One of the most defining principles we have is the modest act of believing in ourselves. I'm sure that sounds simple, but for those who struggle with believing in themselves, I'm quite sure they've heard the following encouraging words many, many times from family, friends, and coworkers. You just have to believe in yourself. Well, if it were only that easy. Believing in you cannot be accomplished simply by wanting it or being told to do it. It requires preparation, practice, and execution involving a set of skills that, over time, can be mastered. For the sake of this podcast, let me highlight just one of these skills, because without this particular skill, no other skill really matters. Allow yourself to try and fail. Let's get one thing straight for those who do not personally know me. I'm a highly competitive human being, to put it mildly. I enjoy winning, and I've never been a fan of losing. It's the third option, however, that really disappoints me. That's the option of not trying. If you think back to some of your greatest accomplishments, I can almost guarantee that those accomplishments were not achieved without the risk of failure. As a matter of fact, I'm quite sure you'll see that the greater the achievement, the greater the risk of failure. In a strange way, success and failure are almost teammates. I've never met a person in my life who has never dabbled in both, and yet the fear of failure often seems to be the louder and stronger of the two. Remember this. The fear of failure will quietly and subtly sneak into your subconsciousness, and it will bully our desire to try. Once inside our minds, it begins to paint a series of worst-case scenarios. Before we realize it, we're silently retreating from whatever it was we were about to try. But what if we redefine success as a willingness to fail? What if we celebrated both our wins and our losses by the effort we put forth and by the courage we displayed in our brave attempt to try? To begin with, I would bet that we'd be celebrating a whole lot more victories. What's more, our success would clearly be under our control, which would then breed more confidence, which would then breed a belief in ourselves. Once upon a time when we were young, we truly believed that if we tried as hard as we could be victorious no matter what the outcome was. We weren't afraid to try because success was defined by what we learned from our experience, either through winning or losing. We not only believed in ourselves, but we improved each time we tried. Somewhere along the way, this is coached out of us. I think we had it right when we were too young to even question it. Believing in yourself has very little to do with wanting it. It has everything to do with allowing yourself to try. You have to encourage yourself to try. With that encouragement and your willingness to attempt something risky, you'll ultimately find one of the greatest successes you can ever achieve: a belief in yourself.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.